and we are both the daughters of our lovely mom, DEVANEE Washington. And so everyone says my mom cooks, and I'm just like, yeah, but can your mom cook that makes you feel included? Does your mom cook in a way that lets you know that even though you're someone with a peanut allergy, a tree nut allergy, when I was born I had a milk allergy, does she cook in a way that allows you to go to school with food that is safe for you? So the things that I remember from my childhood are a soy and butter jelly sandwich, not peanut butter, it's soy and butter, cut on the diagonal with ants on a log, and everyone else puts peanut butter on it, but we had soy and butter on ours. And she even had this weird thing that she would do where she would give us half-eaten Whole Foods pizza crust so that we wouldn't have cheese on ours.
Yes, and another amazing thing about my mother is that she loves and values her family so much, but sometimes even to the point that she puts us first before herself. And a key example of this for me was when I was younger, and she left her job at craft so she could be with us in the evenings after school. And even when she put her personal career on hold, you could still see how passionate she was about food. And as my sister said, my mom poured her knowledge of food into our lives, and she encouraged us to eat the rainbow and even took the time to research about what foods and supplements would help my grandfather who went through chemotherapy. When I was in second grade, my mom sat our family down and told us that she was going to go back to school. And it was a little bit scary for me because I really loved having my mom with me, and going to school meant long hours of studying and not being around as much. We were still so proud of her. And so guys, my mom is very smart, and I know I'm really biased, but it's true. And she's really excited to be with you guys today and share some of her knowledge. So please welcome our mom, DEVANEE Washington.
All right. How's everybody doing? All right. Thanks for coming back after lunch. I know it was a really long day. It's been a very fulfilling weekend, emotionally fulfilling, but also kind of draining too. Like, it takes a lot to release all of that. So I don't take it lightly that you guys came back to hang out with me for an hour. I hope that it would be an hour well spent. So thank you, my babies, for the introduction. I do love my children so much. And if you guys notice, we have some other men in the room as well. I got a surprise visit. My son popped in, and he was driven out here by my husband now. So I'm excited. So we're going to get started. Because I'm trying to leave some time for Q&A at the end. I feel like people have some questions because I was already getting them. So, Lord, I hear you, impurities in my body, impurities in my blood, right? I mean, we have this heart that pumps every day, nonstop. When was the last time you told your heart to pump? Do you say anything? Do you do anything? Right. It does it nonstop, without fail, all the time. And what is it doing? It is sending blood up from the top down to the bottom, spread out. It has to circulate the blood all around our body, delivering to all the organs and things that need it, right? What is it carrying? What's in our blood? We have iron. And what was the other thing? This is a workshop, so we're going to be talking. It's iron and it's oxygen, right? There's also some cholesterol in there. There's cholesterol in there. Cholesterol gets a bad rap. Cholesterol is important, but you can have too much and it gets out of hand. But there's some other things that's in our blood that might not need to be there, right? Anybody have diabetes? They have sugar, right? You have some sugar in your blood. You might have some more fat than usual, so you have some triglycerides. So there's some other things kind of dumping up the blood. And so it's blocking, so traffic jam, so it can't get to everywhere it needs to go. So we're going to talk about this today, talk about some things that might be dumping up the blood, how we can improve upon it. Let's see. So let's go. Uh-oh. It's not working. What is it like? That's okay. Can you just answer for me? Wonderful. That works. So our time together, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to do metabolic syndrome. Has anybody heard of that before? Wonderful. We're going to talk about cancer a little bit. We're going to do 2. Okay? Brain health. Some takeaways of what you can do daily. So I have a small culinary research group that I started when I stepped away from working at Kraft. So I do culinary consulting. It's called Teaspoon. The reason why I wanted it to be Teaspoon is because I really believe that small changes have huge impact. So I'm not asking you to go out tomorrow and change everything that you've ever done, and then you're exhausted and you're like, I don't want to do that anymore, and you go back to it. Just pick one thing. If you just take one thing out of today, that is enough, right? And if you don't even do it every day, but you just try every day, you get a new day to make some new choices. All right, so I'm going to leave you with that, and then we're actually going to tie it back to Rahab. I don't know, y'all. I think this prostitute might have something to do with this lesson too. Can we advance the slide, please? So I'm really happy to hear that you guys know about metabolic dysfunction. Oh wait, I'm not there yet. We talked about Grandma Rice, right? Taylor Rice. Can you go? There we go. So genetics. I have these 2 pictures up here because I really think it's important for you guys to know your baseline. It's important to know where you start, where you come from, because you need to know your family history. You need to know where you are starting out. What do you guys think? How much does genetics matter in terms of your lifestyle, determining what chronic diseases, what ailments you are going to be plagued with? You think it's 10%, 20%, 40%?
40%.
I heard a lot of 40s. I heard some 10s. Did anybody say 20? I have 120. I have 120. Okay. So the 20s actually get it. Wow. So I think sometimes we go into life just thinking, oh, if my mom and dad had this, I'm destined to. Yes, there are cases where that is absolutely the case. You will be predestined to have that, right? Because it's just in your genetics. But it's really only up to about 20%. And the reason we know that is because of identical twins. Identical twins don't suffer from the same chronic diseases. So that's how we know that information. So why do I put this up here? My lovely grandmother, who will be 95 this year in December. My birthday together, so it's super exciting. So she's a diabetic, has been a diabetic for many years, but otherwise, pretty healthy. I mean, she's doing really well, still living independently. And then on the other side, my lovely parents, because I would not be here if it weren't for them, right? And so, you guys already heard, we have pancreatic cancer. My mother, after my father's death, was diagnosed with lupus. And she, I guess, had it all her life and just didn't know. Was never diagnosed. But now you know, and it's, maybe that's the reason for all of those other things. So, ladies, please listen to your bodies, advocate for yourself, and ask the questions. If your healthcare provider is not listening to you and is dismissive, you might need to see another healthcare provider. And I know because I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. And I say that because the first thing they told me was, maybe you should lose 5 pounds. Exactly. Crickets. Okay, thank you. Right. So there are other things that we can do. And so we're going to talk about that. Let's go. So it's only 20%, guys. So that means that what you're doing every day for your health, it really does matter and can make a difference. So, metabolic syndrome. You guys can see what they are. Those are the parameters. So you guys said you guys have heard of this, you know what it is. So do you know how many of them you have to have in order to have the condition? It's a group of clustering of things which are listed there. If you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many do you think you have before you're diagnosed with it? Yep, you only need to have 3. So there's an endocrinologist that was having patients that had heart attacks. And he realized, well, you know what? They also have high triglycerides. They have high cholesterol. they have high blood pressure. So he started grouping all of these things together because all of the patients, his cardiac patients, were having all of these things, but he didn't know what was the foundation of them. What do you guys think it is, since you guys know about metabolic syndrome? Do you know what kind of causes metabolic syndrome for all of these things that are connected? Any guesses, any guesses? Diet. It is the diet, but it's a specific thing that people talk about. It's related to diabetes. It's insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is related to all of these things, okay? So, if you are showing signs of insulin resistance, you may have a higher fasting glucose, but you might not be diabetic yet, right? So I went and got my blood work done, and I got 5.8 for my A1C. What was my classification? Do you guys know what my diagnosis? I would be pre-diabetic. So do you guys believe if you're pre-diabetic, you should start to make some changes? You should get some medication? What do you think? Make some lifestyle changes first. We're going to get to diabetes. I'm not going to get past that. I was about to ask you guys another question. You guys are funny. I like it. Okay, so, but there's some other things outside of this. Does anybody have gout? So gout is something that can be an early sign of this as well. Right, so your uric acid buildup, and that comes from having a lot of what we call impurities. I am a geek about food, so I'm going to have a lot of medical terms, but I'm also going to give you just the other name, because that really probably doesn't matter. If you want to geek out with me, you can. So if you do have a lot of meats and cheeses and anchovies, beer is actually in this category. So if you're consuming like a beer a day, you're going to build up those purines as well. But also fructose. And this is where fruit gets a bad rap. I don't know why y'all pick on my fruit, because I love fruit. But we're not talking about the fructose that's in fruit. What are we talking about? We're talking about the high fructose corn syrup. Thank you. I'm glad you guys know the difference. You know what? We can probably skip through a lot of this stuff. So, high fructose corn syrup and then those meats and cheeses and beer can give you an elevated uric acid that if you're not clearing, it can lead to one of these things that can put you in that category of metabolic syndrome. Can you advance the slide, please? So, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. This is actually, liver disease is on the rise. Liver disease is on the rise for two reasons post-COVID. Alcohol consumption went up, and people are just kind of eating more, right? And so what happens, you eat, your body has to do something with that glucose, right? So it packages it up, and if you don't need it, it's going to store it. So you have this fat just kind of circulating around, and it can go and find its way into the liver and just hang out. So non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is when you just have extra fat in your liver that's just stored up for when you need it. So go for a run, get that stuff out of your liver, and it will clear up. But fat is accumulated in these two areas. And you guys know, like, fat is important because it serves protection, but where it is matters, right? So you want it to be on top of your muscle, in between your skin. When it gets inside your organs, then it starts to break down, send different signals, because again, you have a little highway traffic that's going on in your blood. It's sending signals out that are not supposed to be sent. And so things are getting turned on when they're not supposed to, and things are getting turned off when they need to be on. So where your fat is matters. Has anyone ever had a DEXA scan? A DEXA scan. So, a bone density or another kind? Okay. So I just learned this actually because I've never been offered a composition DEXA scan. So there's two different kinds. So you can ask your doctor if you're getting a bone density DEXA scan. See if you have the option to get a body composition one. If you are concerned, if you have some tests that aren't coming back right, then you just want to know, well, am I getting fat accumulated in different areas? A composition scan will tell you. Okay, so it'll tell you and it'll let you know where the fat is on your body. you are so interested in knowing. Let's see, what else did I want to say about this? That's good. We can go to the next slide. Okay, it's heart health. You guys know it's the number one killer. It's the number one killer for us, for everybody, in a minute. But a lot of the symptoms, we're not going to know. You're not going to feel it. You might feel something a little off, but we're not paying attention because we're so busy and we have all these things going on. So heart health is still very, very important. And when we talk about our cholesterol level that's affected by our heart health, women are actually elevated already because of our estrogen. And so for our good cholesterol that we're supposed to have, we need to have 60 for men only need 40. And that's because we just run higher because of our estrogen. And so it's higher during the childbearing years as well. And then, so because of this heart disease, we have extra fat that's accumulating and it's going around and it's in the plaque of our arteries, right? So we know about that. So what are we gonna do? I mean, I really just hate to stand up here and tell you if you just eat more fruits and vegetables, like things would be a lot better. But if you just eat more fruits and vegetables, things would be a lot better, right? And so, anybody who's nutritional yeast? Oh, well, this is okay. So we got one. So there are samples of nutritional yeast up here. If you guys would like to try, and so what it is vegan vegetable sources, right? It is a baker's yeast that's fermented, and so it has a lot of B vitamins, but it also has B12 in it. If anybody knows anyone that takes a B12 shot, right, it's because as you age, you don't have the ability to actually make B12 yourself because your stomach isn't able. You reduce your intrinsic factor, which is needed to make it, and so you just don't need it. So in order for you to get it, you have to either eat something with it or get a shot. So how is this used? So if I'm saying, let's do more plant-based, let's get away from the cholesterol because we're trying to clean out the gunk in our blood and our arteries, you can try nutritional yeast. You're going to use it maybe like Parmesan. You can sprinkle it on popcorn. You can add it to soups. It has a little bit of a flavor to it, a cheesy type of a flavor. But what it also has that's really important is fiber. So we need more fiber. Fiber is important for our heart health. We can get it through whole grains, beans, right, green leafy vegetables. But this has fiber in it, and it's going to give you 4 grams of fiber. But the fiber that it has is soluble fiber, and it's actually a really important fiber. So it's a beta-glucan, which I'm geeking out. But why this is important is because when it gets into your immune system, it's fiber, and your microbiome is going to do something real special to it when it gets in there and start getting together with that bacteria, and it is going to actually trigger your own immune system to work better. Okay? So, beta-glucan is a good soluble fiber. So if I don't know if you're across the word and you're like, oh, I want some of that because that's going to make my immune system and stuff. There you go. Okay, so you're going to have an increased activation in your immune cells. So I'm telling you all this before you get it and try it because I'm just going to be honest. You're going to open it and you're going to say, oh, this smells a little funky. Because it's yeast, right? So it's going to smell a little different. But I want you to be patient and just try it, right? Just try it. And I love to be able to try before you buy. How do you use it? So you can cook with it. So what I did before, a lot of you see it in like vegan cheese sauces, right? Because they'll use that for the cheesy flavor. If you make like fake eggs with tofu, sometimes they'll add that in there, or you can actually add 2 eggs if you want to. When you start, no, it is not my brand, but I bought it in the big things and we packaged it up for you. That's why. Yeah, it's on here. It's like that. But it is the Brad's It's the Brad's brand of nutritional needs. And honestly, if you guys, there's a lot of them, there's plenty, you can have more than one. I just don't want you to take it and you open it and it's like, ooh, this is funky, and you throw it away. So just try it. But you can use it like you would use cheese, and you can put it on popcorn, which is a whole grain. Popcorn is a whole grain, y'all. I know you kind of overlook that when you think you can only eat like multi-grain bread. Popcorn is a whole grain as well. So it's for flavor. Okay, I'm going to get to you in just one moment. I just have a question. So you can just sprinkle it on. So if you're going to put it on popcorn, I would recommend if you want to spritz it with like some olive oil or something, you need to have something to make it stick, right? Well, notice I didn't say butter, but if you want to have butter, then that's your business and you use butter. And you can sprinkle it on to taste, right? But I'm just going to say, y'all be patient. Because there's some things that you may want to try and not. You know, you take medicine all the time, and medicine is nasty, right? And so it can take 7 to 10 days for your taste bud cells to regenerate. So that means if you give it 2 weeks, you actually might start to like it because your taste buds will start to activate to the new taste of it. So that goes for if you're trying a new low salt diet or something, right? You have to just give yourself time. Think about what you used to eat as a child. I mean, baby food was nasty. That motherland stuff is nasty. You learn and acquire your taste buds. So give it 7 to 10 days. You get new ones, right? Okay. There was a question I'm going to answer, but I'm going to say this is a slippery slope, y'all, because I have a timekeeper and I have to get through my presentation. So I'm going to honor your request. Are you sure? Okay. So, what else was I going to say about nutrition? Okay, so you guys excited to try nutrition? Yeah. Okay, and if you want some more, there's some up here. And please say it, because I really don't want to take it back home. But I'm little and the kids are hard to eat it. Okay, so those are the things that are good about nutritional needs. Patrick, can I get an advancement on the slide, please? Y'all already know. Yeah. It's just so bad. And it's so bad because it's so prevalent and it causes so many other issues. Once you are in that pre-diabetic category, they say if you don't make any changes, you have 5 years before you kind of move on. If you don't make any changes. So you can make some changes and maybe stay in that area of just pre-diabetic. But you can probably make more changes and move it all the way down, right? So you want to be under 5.7. So there's a lot, 38.4 million. What's really important is that not most of them, but let me see, so I'll say it correctly, 8.7 million are undiagnosed. Wow. We are walking around with extra sugar in our blood. And so this is why the sugar, yes, I see, I'm making out. You see the molecule up there? Those edges are sharp. You know, you get hit with those sharp edges, you're in your blood vessels. You get little nicks. Every time that glucose, that sugar is flowing through your blood, it's nicking. So the more that happens, you're not giving your body time to heal. It can heal itself, but it needs time. So if you have a chronic offense of always having extra sugar in there, that's just constantly nicking. Never gives your body time to heal, right? So you have to be able to allow things to rest, give your body time to heal so that it can repair itself. But these are all the things that are associated with type 2 diabetes. I mean, the list is long. Type 3 diabetes, they had to come up with another one. It's a little controversial, but have you guys heard of it? Yeah. Oh. I heard a yes. Who said yes? I did. You did, Patrick. I heard it. Yes, it is. Okay, so for the whole class, this is great. You guys are really on it, though. I'm so impressed and proud. it is associated with your brain health, with Alzheimer's and dementia. Because what we have to really understand is the blood is flowing everywhere. So if it's bad for your heart, it's bad for everywhere else too, right? And so you're getting those same amyloid plaque. When you hear that and you have the brain analyzed and they have to build up the amyloid plaque, it is a function of type 2 diabetes and extra fat that's in the brain. Okay? So it's all of those things that you knew about, and then you can actually add on another one, so type 3. But that's what I like to say about this. Let me see. I'm sorry, because I'm not actually following my notes now. Okay, so this was really eye-opening for me. I have a master's in nutrition. I don't know, maybe I was sleeping that day, maybe there's an issue with the kids and I was focusing, but I promise you, I never heard any one of my instructors say to me that this was the issue with diabetes. I knew insulin resistance was why the glucose doesn't go into the cell so that you can make the energy, right? Everybody knows that. So you have insulin resistance. So insulin can't get into the cell because, glucose can't get into the cell because insulin won't open up the door and unlock it, right? Well, why can't they open up the door? Because it's what? It is clogged. It's clogged. What's it clogged with? It's clogged with fat. So when you're a diabetic, what do they tell you? Don't eat carbs. But don't eat carbs. Are you guys getting the instruction that you need to decrease your fat intake as well? Not just lose weight, but actually stop putting more of the fat in your body. That should be part of the discussion as well, and a lot of the discussion is just around carbs. It's just managing the problem instead of getting to the root cause. And I'm more about getting to the root cause. So can we just kind of unclog the lock so that the key will work? And we can get back to the glucose, get into the cell, and get into the mitochondria, and your ATP, and you got your energy. That's what we need to get back to, right? So you gotta unclog your lock. And it's dumped up by fat. So if you are type 2 diabetic and you also don't have any other like extra fat around in your blood or on your body that you can see, like you're like, no, weight is not my issue, then you need to have a conversation with your healthcare provider to figure out what your root cause is, right? Because that's what usually is gunning it up. Okay. Are we good with that? What else do we want to say? I'm sorry, just a quick little scan. So we're talking about fats. Saturated fats are the ones that build it up the most. You guys know where that's coming from, right? Like the meat. It's coming from meat, cheese, dairy, and eggs. Somebody said the restaurant? Yeah. I mean, if you're ordering that, yes, that is true. But then there's also monounsaturated fats that don't have the same effect. And that's going to be your olives, your nuts, your seeds, right? So, it's fun. I can come in and just be like, eat more fruits and vegetables and whole grains and nuts and seeds. But I really want you guys to understand why you need to do it. Okay? Because then it's going to make it a little easier. Like when you go home and you open up that package, you're like, ooh, this is funky. I don't like the taste of it. But it's going to unclog my lung. So I'll try it. Right? Okay. So, can you advance the slide? So there was write it down. So there was a study that was done. And everyone was told when you're type 2 diabetic, you need to lose weight. That's the first thing they tell you because it's a very easy thing to say. So, you need to lose weight. And there was a study that was done. You guys know about the minus margin? Because I've talked about it before, but I'll go over it again because this is so fascinating. Everything is so fascinating. This is so fascinating. So you guys know those 100-calorie packets? Right. Okay, 100 calories. If you eat 100 calories, if you don't eat 100 calories, you probably won't notice it. Okay? So if you're on a 2,100 calorie or 2,000 calorie diet, let's just say that for easy sake. If you skipped a snack or a handful of nuts or something, or you walked by and grabbed some pretzels or some chips or something and it was just a handful, if you ate it, okay. If you didn't eat it, you probably wouldn't miss it also. But here's the thing. If you ate an extra 100 calories every day, how much weight would you gain at the end of the year? 10 pounds. It's 10 pounds. There's 3,500 calories in a pound. So you're going to gain 10 pounds just by mindlessly walking around. This is a daily thing, right? Because some days you might, some days you might not. Doesn't, I don't know. But the interesting thing about it is it works the other way too. If you just didn't have the handful every day, and it was just 100 calories, at the end of the year or after 12 months, you would have lost 10 pounds without trying. It works both ways, and that's why we call it the mindless margin, because it's something you don't even think about. 100 calories is nothing. So, there are different ways that you can lose weight. When they tell you to lose weight, you can do calorie restriction, you can do food avoidance, or you can do time restriction, so like intermittent fasting, right? So with this, which is so interesting, they said, okay, one group, we're going to restrict your calories. You have to cut out 500 calories a day. Okay? The other group, they said you can eat whatever you want, but you have to include 1 cup of beans. But eat whatever you want. 1 cup of beans is all we're asking you to add. What you think? Who do you think there? And keep in mind, beans are an extra 200 calories. About. Right? So you're really talking about 200 calories with the addition of beans, or on this side, you're just restricting 500 calories. Did I have an answer back here?
Also allow super fast food. So I think that's a good thing.
Yes, it is. Bingo, bingo, I love it. So, what did you say? Yes. So the answer was she mixed the beans once. I will give you what the results were. The results were equal. There was no difference in the group in terms of weight loss. But what the sister said is you gain more because you ate the beans. So you're getting the fiber. You're getting the protection for your heart health. You're getting some fiber in there that's going to be for your gut health, right? So you get side effects, but they're good side effects. Those are the side effects that you want. So when I look at it, well, if it's all equal, I could restrict it and not eat 500 calories, but then I'm depriving myself of something. Or I can eat whatever I want and just add a couple beans. Y'all got that? That's going to be your takeaway. Just add a couple beans. Just add a couple of beans. Now, you know what I was saying? Not baked beans. But if you have to, why not say that? Because of the sugar. But if you have to start with baked beans, I would rather you start with baked beans than not have any at all. Because you're still going to get the fiber. You're going to get the extra sugar, but you're still going to get the fiber. But you're going to do something else for me that's coming up. That's going to be working. Okay. So, but any kind of beans, chickpeas, lentils, navy beans, pinto beans, black beans, whatever kind of beans you want. Let's eat the beans. Okay? And so, and I'm sorry because I actually misspoke. They only had to eat the beans 5 days a week. So they didn't even have to do it every day of the week. They only had to do it 5. Okay? So you can restrict your calories if you want to, or you can just add a couple of beans. All right. I'm sorry? My beans are delicious. Now, sister, I answered your question the first time, but you asked me another, and I'm not answering. However, because I think it might be applicable for people that struggle with, eating a bean. And I would say it doesn't matter if it's canned. If you need to rinse them for the sodium, that's fine. If it's dry, these are inexpensive, y'all. I'm not giving you stuff that's all these fancy superfoods. You gotta pay $20 to go to the nutritional yeast is $7. But if if somebody wants to take that big one home, they can. But these are very economical things that you guys can implement that's not going to really change how you shop, where you shop, whatever. But yes, preparation is key because you want to be able to eat it. So I would say right now, because I have this up here, so thank you for the segue. There is 21 Salute seasoning and smoked paprika. And Nikki made me get it because she said everybody likes to get it. So I do not, my husband does not eat meat or pork. And so I use smoked paprika. So people that are concerned about carcinogens and smoked things, it's not the same. So smoked paprika is not manufactured in the same way with the carcinogenic effect of barbecue, okay? So it's not the same, but smoked paprika, and I do a no salt seasoning blend. I put some fresh herbs in there, do some stock, simmer them. They're delicious. But if you are used to eating things with meat, smoked paprika is really where you should start. You should be adding it in there because it's very flavorful. And it's when you open it and smell it, it smells like bacon. And it's supposed to smell like bacon because it's smoked like bacon. But it gives you the flavor without the fat and all the carcinogenic effects. Okay. So what else? So we're going to add a couple things. Another thing about diabetes that I wanted to just say is, by the time you're 20, you're not making any more beta cells. Your beta cells is what's in your pancreas that makes the insulin. So if you're damaged after that point, you're not going to get it. So you can be pre-diabetic for a long time, but you will already have the effects of the damage that's kind of gone if you don't get to it before. That's why I say the pre-diabetic range is fine. They're not going to make you get on medication, but if you can do something, you should, because you're not going to get any more beta cells after that. Okay, I'm going to have to get going. The other thing that I wanted to say about diabetes is, anybody have neuropathy? Oh, nice. Not too bad, though. Not too bad. So it is a common effect of diabetes. I would say there's research out there for people that went on a plant-based diet, and it cured it. There is no medication that they can give you. Well, there's no cure for it, really, right? You can't go, you have to take medication every day, you can do opioids, or you can do steroids. But when you have it, they say, well, oh, it's irreversible. But there are studies out there that shows that if you do a plant-based diet, then it can reverse that. And I'm not saying that these are diabetics that were diabetics for 20 plus years in this study. And they did a plant-based diet. How long do you think it took for them to see the effects? Yeah. It was in 3 weeks. It was in 3 weeks. And so it was a smaller study. There were only 21 participants, but 17 of them, their neuropathy was reversed. So I think that's a pretty high percentage for doing something that's just natural. Now I will say, for people that are really high achievers, type A, and you're gonna go home and you're gonna start doing plant-based right now. Okay, I know you laugh. No, green leafy vegetables are high in vitamin K. I say that so you guys know, if anybody is on a blood thinner, warfarin, something like that, vitamin K increases your blood clotting mechanisms in your body, right? So you need to consult your physician. Don't say, oh, I can't eat the green leafy vegetables because I'm going to get blood clot. No, go talk to your doctor, manage your medication as you start to increase that, because I don't want you to go and do it and then you get blood clot, and you're like, well, the green leafy vegetables made me get a blood clot. But it's because of the vitamin K, right? Which is something that we need, and it's protective for us. But just as a disclaimer. And also, we are going to talk about citrus fruits. So you guys know with grapefruit, if you're a diabetic, it's medication. So know where you are. You need to talk to your doctor. This is kind of like the one-size-fits-all conversation, and nutrition is very much individualized. Okay, real quick, what's on the next slide, Patrick? I think I might need to. Okay, so we talked about plant-based. You can go. Okay. So, insulin is not needed for all glucose to get into all the organs. So your brain and your liver don't actually need insulin. But there's another one, your muscle. Your muscle actually doesn't need insulin if you're exercising. The muscle will take it because the muscle is contracting and that signals, oh, go get the energy because I'm working. I'm working and I need to support that. So just don't jump just because you're alive and breathing. Your brain and your liver will take the glucose that it needs because it's that vitally important. But then when you start to exercise, you actually have an ability to do that. You have GLUT4 receptors. Again, we're geeking out. You got GLUT4 receptors. These GLUT4 receptors want that glucose, and it's going to take it. But what's so interesting is when you are exercising and using it, your body will make more GLUT4 receptors. That's why exercise is so important. Okay, what kind of exercise? I'm not even asking you to go prep for a marathon. You don't even have to do a whole bunch. But what I'm going to ask you to do, you won't even break a sweat. Not really. Not really. We're going to talk about zone 2. Zone 2. If you're real fancy and you have a cardio stress test, they can tell you what that zone 2 is and you like wear a monitor and do all those things. But I'm just going to tell you the easy way that you can do it. You know, you go walking with your friend in the morning or you're walking after dinner or whatever, not shaking the air, do that, I love it. So if you're walking and you can hold a conversation, you need to walk real fast. It needs to be that you can hold it, but it's hard to do it, right? So you need to walk at a pace that's just a little bit difficult. You don't want to go too fast because what's going to happen when you're doing this zone 2 exercise? Your mitochondria is so incredibly fascinating because it can give you energy from glucose and fat. But when you do zone 2 exercises, when you're doing that zone 2 range, your mitochondria has the ability to say, oh, you know what, some extra fat over here, I'm going to get that instead of messing with this glucose, I'm going to leave that for the liver to have, but she might need it later. It gives your body the ability to be excellent. I mean, I had some extra fat laying around. I don't know why the country to go and get that before, you know. So zone 2, it's important. But this is what's important. It's boring because it's slow, right? So it can be boring. And you have to do it you really probably need to do it for 45 minutes, like 3 times a week. That's boring. So, but incorporate some things with it. You're going to do your devotional, right? You can listen to a podcast. You're not going to make a phone call because you shouldn't be able to talk, right? So you can't make a phone call. But you can listen to things. You can meditate. You can pray. But you shouldn't be going fast enough to where, you know, you're breaking a sweat and you don't want to go so slow to where you can make a phone call. Okay? You guys are good? So zone 2. Okay. Is there anything else? Let's see. Oh, this is something I wanted to say. Sorry, I'm having a good time. I hope you guys are. Okay. So also, your immune system is stimulated when you exercise. Okay? So you have these signaling systems that's going on all the time, and it's increasing when you're exercising. That's all. So zone 2. Let's see. Yep, that's it. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one more thing. I'm glad I'm looking over my notes. I get so excited when I rush through things. So we talked about type 3 diabetes, and I want to get this right. So brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It improves the health and function of the hippocampus, which is located in your brain that is essential for memory. So when you're doing zone 2, you're working out, you're strengthening that hippocampus, okay? So it's gonna help with that. And then, I think that's all it is. Yes, and so this protein is also just a growth factor for the central nervous system, so it's directly related to your type 3. Okay, we're getting the blood pressure. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, we got hidden salt. You guys already know. You gotta get rid of the salt. Processed food, you're eating out. So you want your blood pressure to be 120 over 80. Really, I'm just going to be honest, the goal is 110 over 70. But then I'm going to tell you that because they know you're not going to do it. So they're just going to say, but you know, if you can get to 120 over 80, that's going to be good. That top number is the pressure in your arteries when your heart is pumping, and that bottom number is when it's resting. So you got to give your heart a break a little bit. Like when it's resting, you can only get 80. So you want to just try to make sure you can get that number as low as you can, okay? And so when you have high blood pressure, it increases your risk for stroke and for heart disease. So it's a silent killer. A lot of us are walking around and don't know, and it does affect 1 in 3 people. So again, this is just know your numbers. You can get your blood pressure at the grocery store if you don't have a heart monitor. They have them at some libraries now. The writing departments will have them also. So you can get it checked more than just at the doctor's office. And honestly, if you're getting your blood pressure checked, if you have a higher blood pressure but you feel like you're doing better, when you get up and walk to the back and come take a thing and take your shoes off and put it back on, and then come over here and then ask them a question, and then come in and sit down, let me take the blood pressure, and then start asking questions. Can you give me a minute? Right. So I can just rest and take some cleansing breaths and then have them take your blood pressure. You should actually have your arm elevated a little slightly. You should have your feet not crossed, and they should be flat. So maybe you're taking your blood pressure after all these things, and they don't know what you've been through. You have to walk from the parking lot. I mean, it's just a lot of things. So just give yourself a moment. If you're like, no, because I feel like it should be better than that, have them take it again. Or that's fine, take it, but before I leave, can you just come in and take it one more time? Just have them take it again. Okay, so removing salt, condiments are just really big. You gotta kind of clear out the condiments. That's not true. That's not true. Just be aware of what is in your condiments, okay? So if you're adding condiments, then maybe ease up on the salt, right? Because you're gonna get salt in those things. Anything surprise you guys up there? Why is that chicken up there? Right. Okay. When you go to the store and you buy your chicken, how is it purchased? Do you buy it by the piece or by the weight? How do they do it? But how much do they charge you? Per what? Per what? Per pound? Okay. You're supposed to say the answer, Michelle. Okay. Yes. You're buying your chicken by the pound. What makes it a little heavier? Yep, so it could be a brine, right? And so if you look at it and it says natural flavor, why does your chicken need our natural flavor? It's chicken. It's chicken. It should taste like chicken. So if you cook your chicken and at first it was like this and then you cook it and it's like that, it lost the water. So it was plumped up. So if you, and it's okay. I'm just telling you so that you know that sometimes they can have salt in the chicken. And that's unfortunate because you think you're just, you're doing good. I'm buying my family some skinless, boneless meat to cook for this meal tonight because I got to go and start doing all these veggies and it's going to have a little bit of protein and I'm not going to have the bone or the fat and all that stuff. But yes, so just be aware that can be something. So remove the salt from the table. Try not to cook with it if you can. Some of the other things you can use, citrus. You can use herbs, fresh herbs, dried herbs, it doesn't matter. You can use no salt seasoning. Like use your spices. Your spices have high antioxidants as well. So you want to make sure you're incorporating those things into your Is it, how much time do I have? Okay, we gotta go. So, that's okay. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Okay, so real quick, 2,300 milligrams is what you're shooting for. It is a little difficult, but if you're doing fresh foods, whole grains, can maybe have some in there, but this is a trick that I like to do. Your calories should not be more than the sodium, because you're gonna eat about 2,000 calories, maybe 2,500 calories you might, but if you keep that ratio in there, then you only have 2,500 milligrams of sodium. You see where I'm going? So when you're looking at your foods and you look at that nutrition label, try to have your sodium and your calories about equal. So DASH diet is something that people will often have recommended to them, and that is a lifestyle, and it has a lot of details about what to follow. That still includes meat. Plant-based is still better, but I will say we have flaxseed up here. Flaxseed is very protective for high blood pressure. So eating just a tablespoon every day, a tablespoon of flaxseed every day can help lower your blood pressure, okay? And so there was a study, and it lowered it by like 15 points for people that just was on it for a couple of months. So if you incorporate that into your lifestyle, and then there's also a lot of other protective benefits that it has for cancer as well that we'll talk about. And then can you go to the next slide, Patrick? Also, when you hear about blood pressure, nitric oxide. So nitroglycerin tablets is what they use. Nitric oxide allows your blood vessels to kind of dilate and relax a little bit. You can get that naturally with food. A lot of times people are like, oh, beets. Beets are really high in nitric oxide. And they are, but the beet greens are actually better than the beets themselves. So don't get rid of the greens, chop them up and cook them as well. But you can also just do one a little better and get an arugula salad, because that's the best that you'll be able to get for the nitric oxide, and put the beets in with the beet greens, and you can add some other things as well. Muslin greens, cilantro, big lettuce, those are all things that have nitric oxide. Okay, next slide, please. So we're going to cancer. We're going to cancer. And this is tough because it affects us in a lot of different ways. And you guys know it was in my family, and it's a terrible thing to have to watch your loved ones be really just eaten from the inside, right? It just takes everything. And one thing that we can do is antioxidants. You guys know that these free radicals go around and they can be havoc in our body. And they can make our normal protein structures unrecognizable. And so free radicals combat that. So it will go and do DNA repair. So we have some goji berries, thank you. We have goji berries that are very high in antioxidant content. Now I just want you to know this is another thing. It's another thing. If you go to the Asian market and buy them, they will be cheaper. But goji berries are very high in antioxidants. You can eat them like raisins. They're dry. You can add it to your oatmeal. You can put it in your smoothie. You can chop them up, put them on your salad that you're going to have, your arugula beef salad. So that is something that you can add. Take as many as you want. So we're going to talk about two cancers, colorectal and breast. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to look through these pretty fast. So what I wanted to say about these is that, okay, that's okay, I'm going to get through it. So colorectal cancer is on the rise. I do not know why, but if you are 40 to 45, you need to have these conversations with your physician. You need to, by the time you're 50, you should have already had a colonoscopy. If not, you need to have some alternative method that you're going to be using, whether you're just, do your stool sample or something, because polyps are forming and they are turning into cancer. And I want you to know that I have served some curcumin over here. I have a turmeric that I want you guys to take. So start adding a quarter cup of turmeric every day. There is polyp reduction with turmeric. Okay, so just real quick with this turmeric, it's double bagged. If it spills on your clothes, it will stain. So please be careful, but I did double bag it. Maybe take it in your bags, not with the clothes, but any other thing. A quarter of a teaspoon every day. If you want to put it in your shake, if you want to add it to your food. But the research shows that even if you already have the polyps, it can reduce that. We're talking about turmeric. Specifically, it's the curcumin, but the reason why I'm saying to do the turmeric is because it's easier. If you do curcumin, you're going to have to buy a supplement, and supplements are not regulated by the FDA, so you don't always know what you're getting. You have to make sure you're buying high quality ones to make sure it's what you need. Okay? And so along with that is broccoli. Broccoli and flaxseed help with colorectal cancer also. Okay, so we're talking about you have, phytates. We're on phytates first, I'm sorry. So phytates are in the beans. And so eat more beans. This is another reason why you need to eat more beans because of the colon cancer. And I'm sorry if Russian is about to stop me. And I want to make sure I give you this information. Okay? And so people that have colon cancer that ate a quarter cup of beans a day. This is even less than the one that I told you about before. They had 65 reduction in the amount of polyps that they had. Just by eating beans. Just by eating beans. So when I say let's just try to eat some more beans, let's just try to eat some more beans. I mean, it's going to be good for a lot of different things. Phytates that are in beans are also good for boosting natural killer cells. So this is going to be good for when you don't have to have immunity towards something. It's not like you get exposed to it and you build up immunity. These are the things that when something invades your body is like, oh, you're foreign to me, I'm going to take it out. Okay? So beans also do that as well. You guys saw the apples and the oranges that were out, and I'm so happy you were eating them. They weren't there just by happenstance. Apples are actually good for colon cancer. Okay? And so, apples are good for a lot of things. If you don't have time to eat the whole apple, just eat the peel. Because that's where all the good stuff is. Okay? So, the apples are here, take an apple, eat as many as you want. And then you want to make sure that you're increasing your broccoli, cauliflower, and cauliflower. It's simple. You guys probably eat broccoli anyway, right? Yeah. So here's the thing. When we talk about cancers, you know how they say, watch out when you go to a barbecue because of the carcinogens? Broccoli is protective against the carcinogens, okay? So there was a study that was done. You eat a cup of broccoli every day, and then they tested their levels after they ate some barbecue. And that's great, it worked. But the thing about it, they tested them again 2 weeks later. It still had the same protective effect. So the reason why I say that is, you don't have to be perfect every day. You don't have to be perfect every day, but just to try and do it as best you can. And the other thing that you can do to your broccoli to boost up the sulfonates that's in it that actually help with that is to sprinkle yellow mustard on it. The mustard powder. If you like the taste of it, but it helps to boost that, okay? So, breast cancer. We're still talking about flax seeds, y'all. So, flax seeds has come up maybe 3 times now. So, if you haven't gotten it, we need to be doing flax seeds every day because it's good for a lot of things. So, another thing that flaxseed has in it, and the flaxseed has to be ground. If it's whole, you're just going to pass it through and you won't have any of the effects. It has to be ground. Okay, so if you have diverticulitis, you can have ground flax seeds because you're not going to have the seeds. Okay, so ground it up, eat it in a muffin, sprinkle it on your oatmeal or whatever you need to do. And so it has phytoestrogens that dampen the effects of your body's own estrogen, and it has protective effects with the precursors that are needed for breast cancer. Okay, so the other thing you can do is berries that has protective effects in that as well. And this was shown in women that were already diagnosed. They had already taken their biopsy and they had the results. And then 5 weeks later, they were scheduled for the surgery. They gave them flaxseed, 1 tablespoon every day. And in 5 weeks, they had the surgery and they removed the tumor and they tested them. And it was smaller than what it was this 5 weeks prior, just from having the 1 tablespoon of flaxseed every day. Okay?
Wow.
I'm sorry for the rushing. Can you go to the next slide, please? Oh, I'm sorry, wait. Brain health. So, brain health, we're doing fiber. Because remember, we got to get that fat out of the blood. So, we're just talking about fiber. So, you can do plant-based, you can do vegetables, but also there is benefits if you do citrus. So, citrus has a phytonutrient in it that helps to increase your blood flow. And if you do the citrus, more of it, the phytonutrient is actually found in the peel. So, grating that, only where the color is. You don't have to get the white part because the white part is going to be bitter. But if you just do the peel, then you're going to get those extra phytonutrients as well. And so that will help. Because again, what is good for every part of your body is good for your brain too. Okay? So it's good for your heart, it's good for your brain. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay. So you guys see that? Just take a picture. Try to do it. You can just take one. Just one thing, right? Just one. Whatever it is you want to do. Hydration, half your body weight in water. Or whatever non-caffeinated beverage you want. Sleep. There are studies that show that you really need 7 hours. That's what's optimal. I know there are people that are like, I can't sleep more than 5 hours and I'm good. Okay, if that's how your body is. I mean, I don't know. I can just tell you what I've read and what I've researched. 7 hours is what's really optimal for good health. But again, you have to do what's individual for you. And so what else is on there? I think we've gone through a lot of the other things. So I'm just gonna wrap this up. You're distracting me, mother. I have what? 1 minute. Okay, so okay. I know I gave you a lot of information. I'll be up here if you want to talk. There are more samples up here if you guys want to come. There's smoked paprika, there's 21 food seasoning, and then there's some stuff that's up here if you struggle with whole grain, but you really like to have pasta, you don't want brown pasta, whole grain pasta. There's some other things that you can do that are made with lentils and beans, because you're like, I don't really know about the beans. You can probably try that as well. It is my goal not to take any of this stuff home, so please take whatever you would like. So, I'm sorry I wasn't finished all the way here. So, I just want to wrap this up real quick if I can still have your attention. Y'all had to come get it before it was gone.
In the season. Oh my goodness, she's getting That's funny.
There's this one on the raffle. Who's going to do the raffle? Okay, so we are going to pull the raffle ticket, but I did have one more thing. I wasn't like all the way, but I said thank you. You got you. Because, okay, ladies, you can just quiet it down like you're taking a step. I love enthusiastic leaders, so I'm great, but you know. So, Rahab, I thought it was really interesting when I read over and studied that verse. If I could just have your attention real quick. So, Rahab, as you know, was a prostitute. And she was in the land of Jericho. And the spies were sent in to come and scope out the land because they were about to take it over. You know, I thought about this and I'm thinking, why do I have this tied to food? I mean, it didn't really make sense to me. But God reveals things to you. There's something in the scripture for me. And it was very interesting and fitting, but I feel like she had to be a prostitute. Because if she were anything other, the spies would have been able to get in the home. If she was in a home with a man, or if she was by herself with other people, there's just no way 2 men could have been there. And because she was a prostitute, she was on the outskirts of the city. So as soon as they got in there, her house was right there. So she came and she knew, she was aware of only 2 stories. Rahab was moved by her faith to do something after just knowing 2 things of what God has done, right? And so the spies came and her family was protected. And it was so interesting because it was her mother, her father, her brother. She didn't have any children. How did this woman, who was a prostitute, never had any children? So I'm thinking she probably can't have children, but she's in the genealogy of Christ. Yeah. So she was protected, even in her sin, and not even believing yet. And then the spies came. She hid them on the roof. She hid the spies on the roof under the stalks of flax. Flax. It's the flax that we've been talking about. It's the flax that have been so protective in all the ways we just shared, right? Rahab had 2 stories. I made sure I gave you more than 2 of the protective nature of flax. Now, the flax stalks are different species than the flax seeds, but they still came and started from the same. They migrated because they were for different purposes, but they originated within the same thing. So her posture, her position made it possible for her to be able to protect herself and to protect her family. And I was so inspired by that because I try to make sure that my posture is one that I can allow God to come in and to work and to do me, that I can have some type of effect, some type of influence on doing the things that He has purpose within my heart to do. So I hope within this time that we've had together that you got some stories, that you can go and come back and testify, because I have learned so much more. Some of these ladies in here have heard me speak 3 or 4 times, so I really wanted to make sure that I gave new information for you guys. I didn't want you, yes, I really am telling you to eat more fruits and vegetables, but it's so important to always know why. And when I think about my why, it's because of that right there. Those babies and that baby. That's right? That's my why. That I always try to do better. I'm just so thankful for God's grace and mercy that He has over my life and the protection that He is giving me and the covering for my family. So I thank you, ladies, for the time and the attention. Woo-hoo!